its dog could stop barking, that would be great. Brody! Okay. Hi there. So, my name is Marisol Homan. However, for those of you who can't pronounce it, it's Marisol. And my very close friends and family call me Sol. I'm 20 years old. I'm currently in my second year of college, and I'm an English major, and I have a 4-year-old son. So I grew up in the foster care system, and that was/is a huge part of who I am today, because obviously it's a different upbringing than what is the norm. So I kind of just want to talk to you guys a little bit about yeah, just kind of like my past, and let you guys into who I really am and kind of what I've been through. And yeah, being in the foster care system, I was assigned a therapist as soon as I was brought into the system, just because of, I'm sure, precautionary issues and making sure that I kind of had that outlet, like someone to talk to and whatnot. When I first entered the system, I was 4 years old, and the first placement, or I guess the reason why I was even taken away from my family, was because
I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm all over the place. Okay.
let's start over. So I have 2 biological brothers and 1 biological sister. So total I have 3 biological siblings. And we grew up with our mother. However, we all have different dads. So total there's 4 different dads, 4 different kids. My mom, for whatever reason, never stuck around with any one of our dads. And I never, or I still don't know who my dad is, or at least my biological dad. So we were all living together, and then we were all taken away at once, pretty much because I have actual reports of what was the reason why I was removed. On February 8th, 2002, Oxnard Police Department found the child's home to be unsanitary, unsafe, and uninhabitable. Said conditions included, but were not limited to, no electricity, gas, or running water at the residence. The bathroom toilet could not be flushed and was full of fecal matter. All of the food in the refrigerator was spoiled, and there was no electricity. There was a malodorous, I don't even know how to say that, scent permeating the house, and trash and spoiled food was strewn about the house. The residence was declared uninhabitable by code enforcement. Siblings confirmed that there was not a lot of food in the house and often not fed. Grandmother knew about these conditions and did not help them. First of all, don't throw shade on my grandma, okay? My grandma only knew so much and could only do so much, okay? First of all, just putting that out there. No, other parenting issues were noted but were not part of the counts for removal. Mother and David, who is the oldest of my siblings, had a volatile, I'm an English major and I can't pronounce the majority of these words, relationship, and fought often. David reported physical abuse on numerous occasions. David was also asked to lie by the mother. Also, there was a lengthy history of child welfare referrals for neglect issues and physical abuse. So honestly, like, this report issue is so little of what actually was happening in our lives. And I say this because there was so much more going on than just there was no food or electricity or running water. Like, we were literally left to fend for ourselves for weeks and weeks on end. And I, being the youngest, clearly I don't remember much. I just remember opening the fridge constantly and hoping and praying that there would be food or anything to eat, because my stomach was starving. There was a lot of abuse, different kinds of abuse going on in that house, and it wasn't reported. I don't know if it was even known about. I do frankly remember this one time I was at home with my mom, and I'm sure I was not even 5 yet because I would have been in school, but our house literally was covered in clothes and trash, and just it looked like a dump site. And there was people living, like immigrants living in our kitchen, in our backyard, upstairs. It was a 2-story house, that this specific house that I can remember. They were everywhere, and we were left to sleep in our living room floor. And I remember just sitting on the stairs that particular day and just looking around like, wow, this place is a dump. And these police officers come in, and I instantly get scared because, I mean, they were police officers. I was 4 years old, and I just remember them talking to my mom, and my mom glancing over at me every so often to see my reaction. And I just kind of sat there and waited, and finally she grabbed a backpack that was lying on top of this pile of clothes and started throwing like 2 shirts, a pair of shorts or something in there, like clearly nothing to actually sustain me, or even enough of one pair of an outfit to go with. She was just throwing random stuff in there. She's like, you're gonna go with these men for a few days and I'll see you in a little bit. And how nonchalant she was about it was, now that I think about it, it's insane to me, because it was very scary. And I remember, because she was so calm about it, I was like, okay, like, I'll go, sure. But I mean, that's just kind of to give you kind of like a little idea. And I mean, that's when she was home. A lot of the times she was nowhere to be found for a very long time. Where she would go, we don't actually know. I mean, some people would say she would leave for a vacation. With what money? I don't know. And yeah, so she would just leave us behind. So the first time I was removed, I went to a foster home with the Seltons, and I'm not actually going to give any real names out there, because obviously I just don't want to put people's lives out there, especially if I don't have permission to. So I'm just going to give people fake names. So the Seltons were my first foster home, and I was 4 years old. I turned 5 about a month later, and I stayed with them for 11 days. Long time, I know. My second foster home was actually not even, I guess you can consider it a foster home, but it was actually like intermediate family, which was then my grandma Elsa, and I'm going to actually say her real name because she's with the Lord now, and rest in peace, Grandma Elsa. But she took us in for a total of 5 days, and then we were taken away because she lied about having a appropriate living condition for us to live in. And the reason being is because she also didn't have a great home. She literally lived in what was like a room, and it was like a shack, like made out of wood, pretty much, it seemed like. And but I mean, my grandma loved us so much, and she did so much for us. Like, all my memories that young were, I choose to think of when I would spend them with her, because she would make the most of our time together, and she just went out of her way so much to try and help us however, in whatever way she could. And I miss her a lot. And she's definitely someone who's impacted my life, and I wish she could see me today. But that was my second home. And then my third placement, I went back to the Seltons, and I stayed there for 52 days. I actually cried a lot when I was in that home, because I missed my siblings so much, so much. And we would have visitations about once a week, I would say, in this like office building. And it was literally like in an office where a social worker would sit there and type and watch you interact with your siblings and your mom. she would just sit there and type everything that you guys, I don't even know what they would type, but I'm assuming it was just how the visitation was going. And when it was over, I would not let go of my siblings. I would just hold on to them and scream bloody murder, and I would just have to be like pulled off of them.
Me up, forced me down. The world turned upside down, and order disappeared. Nothing was how it was supposed to be.
Every single time, it never ended. So pretty much it wasn't gonna work out, and they were nothing but good to me. They put me in gymnastics, swimming. I mean, I just remember good memories as well, but I mean, I was a kid, so I didn't know how good I had it. My fourth placement was then Nana's. I stayed there for a year, and I actually moved with her because she had two of my siblings in her care, and she really wanted me. When she would see me at visitation and whatnot, she really wanted me, and so they decided that it would be best, or perhaps it would be best, if they could put me together with my siblings and I could just kind of mellow out a little bit. And there was a lot of physical abuse with two of my siblings when we lived on our own with our biological mom. That wasn't, I don't think anyone knew of it, because obviously they wouldn't hit me like in front of strangers, but they kind of would just like beat me up constantly. I'm sure as some siblings do, but one of my specific brothers had a lot of anger issues growing up, and he would take it out on me like every 30 minutes. It felt like I was being like kicked in the corner. And it pretty much began in my third foster home when I was placed with them, because there would be arguments or scuffles, and I'm sure I instigated some of them. I'm more than sure I did. And it would pretty much result in me being beat up. And Nana, she decided that it wasn't going to work out with my two siblings living there, so she actually moved them into different homes and kept me, because she really wanted me. And not that she didn't want them, but I think it just worked out that way, that, you know, she just couldn't have them and she couldn't deal with it, so they ended up going. My fifth placement was then Casa Pacifica, and I believe that after Nana's house, I was reunified with my biological mom. However, that didn't last long, so then they put us into Casa Pacifica, which is an emergency homeless shelter for children, and I stayed there for 10 days. And then Nana found out that I went back to an emergency shelter and got me back, and she was furious because she wanted to know right away if I were to go back into the system, which she knew I was going to, because my mom just wasn't, you know, able to provide for me. She wanted her to be notified immediately. So then she got hold of me again, and then I ended up staying with her for 9 years. So this is the part, I'm sure, where you guys kind of want to know about my life and whatnot. She was like in her 50s when she first got me, I want to say, and she was extremely religious. I wasn't allowed to pretty much experiment with coloring my nails or dyeing my hair super crazy or putting on makeup or talking to boys. Talking to boys was a no-no. Having any boyfriends, like just boys in general that were friends. I wasn't allowed to go to any dances at school. I wasn't allowed to go to really any school events that weren't sports related, because I ended up realizing very quickly in about like 5th grade that I knew like I needed to get into something if I wanted to like get out of the house with a good excuse. Like it couldn't be that I wanted to hang out with my friends that weren't Christian. It had to be like something sports related, and I was like pretty good at sports.
Now that I look back, I admit I was decent. Okay, I was decent.
Rough house with, so I was never afraid to kind of mix in with the boys at school and like play soccer or basketball. So at 5th grade, I started playing basketball, and then I played all the way until my sophomore year in high school. And then in between those years, I also played soccer, but I only played for I think like a year and a half, and I wasn't very good. So yeah, so I would use soccer as an escape route, and then I would use basketball as an escape route, and I just kind of started getting tired of like missing out on all of my friends' like events, parties. I had friends, but I didn't have many close friends. I want to say I had like 5 close friends throughout my childhood. And even then I missed out on so many like events because I wasn't allowed to go to any. And if I did, it was because I sneaked out. And I honestly think that Nana just did that to protect me because she really felt like the world was a horrible place. And if I got a taste of it, I wouldn't want to leave it, pretty much.
To go outside? Why, Rapunzel, look at you, as fragile as a flower.
Yeah, so like, I'm sorry. So
Let's rewind a little bit to me being 9 years old. And when I said that me and my siblings all had different dads, we didn't actually know that we all had different dads because we thought that me and my third youngest brother had the same father up until I was 9 years old, when my mom got her rights terminated, and our dad, quote unquote, mine and my brother's dad, came forward and tried to take guardianship of us, or just pretty much, become our father. They did a DNA test and found out that I wasn't actually his biological daughter.
You are not.
So I was left behind, and my brother went to live with him. And I was heartbroken because he was in our lives in and out. And he was the only father figure that I ever had growing up, really. That I really wanted to be my father, and when I found out that he wasn't, it was like devastating. And so I think that that's when my depression started, was shortly after I was 9. I started kind of trying to figure out, like, who am I in this world? Like, who am I meant to be? Like, I'm not allowed to do anything. I don't have a dad. My mom doesn't care enough to, like, fight hard enough to be with me. The dad that I thought was my dad so easily left my life in just a second. And I just really longed for someone to want me and for someone to just care for me. Even though I had my foster mom, Nana, I just felt like it wasn't enough. And so that's when I started around 8th grade. I ended up meeting this boy at a basketball tournament that I wasn't even supposed to be in. It was an all boys basketball tournament. Actually, I don't know if it was all boys. It was an all boys basketball, but I just remember there being all boys. And I was actually supposed to go home, and I last minute got invited because apparently they couldn't find a boy to fill in or something. So they knew I was like a tomboy. So like, hey, you want to join this basketball tournament, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, sure, whatever. So I joined, and I end up meeting this boy who, fast forward, ends up being my kid's father. I ended up getting pregnant when I was 15 years old. As you can tell, it was, or as I guess you could assume, it was not planned. However, we weren't really doing anything to prevent it. I was never really educated on protection or sex was not allowed to talk about whatsoever, or we're boys. So I was like, I'm just gonna like experiment on my own. I'm gonna do my own thing. And that's when I kind of just started sneaking out. I started rebelling. I started ditching school. I was always a really good student. And yeah, I just started ditching school. When I got pregnant, my nana didn't take it very well. And I don't want to say I was kicked out of the home, but pretty much I was kicked out of the home. It was a very upsetting thing for everyone, and I definitely brought it upon myself because I was messing around doing those things and when I knew I wasn't supposed to. After getting kicked out, I went to my 7th home and I stayed there for 10 months, and that was the Wells' home. And my son was about 3 months old then, and I actually didn't find out I was pregnant until I was three and a half months pregnant or so. How? I honestly don't know, guys. Like, I didn't have any symptoms like morning sickness or nausea or any of those things. Like none of those things. The only way that I even knew that I could potentially be pregnant was because Nana pointed out that I hadn't gotten my period in a long time, and I was like, well, I play basketball literally every single day and I like exercise like crazy, so it's common if you miss your period when you're exercising a lot. And so I was like, well, I didn't think anything. I went to an actual doctor, took a pregnancy or a urine test, and they told me I was pregnant. In my 7th home, my son was 3 months old. My son was born in that when I was under their care, and he was 3 months old when I got kicked out of that home because I was really my 7th home. I was really testing the boundaries. I was mad at life. Like, I was so mad. I had lost the family that I felt was really supposed to be my family, and I just had lost everything. My world came crashing down around that time, and not to mention I had just had my son, and things were not going that great with my kid's dad either, and I was just going through a lot of things. I was going through a lot of things and a lot of things I had to think about. And so I just started rebelling and just doing things that I shouldn't have been doing, like ditching school again and just getting myself into trouble. And the Wells' home, my foster mom, she needed more, I needed more supervision. She didn't need more supervision. I needed more supervision. And she couldn't provide that for me. And that's okay, because at least she accepted that. And pretty much I went back to Casa Pacifica, the emergency homeless shelter, and I stayed there for 3 months with my son. And when I thought that my 7th home was hard, let me tell you, my 8th placement almost broke me. Like, I cried almost every night in that shelter with my son, and I held my son 24/7 like when I was in that shelter. Like, the only time I would put him down was because they told me that he needed to start doing tummy time so that he could straighten his neck muscles and just be completing those milestones that he should have been. But other than that, that boy was in my arms 24/7 because that's when I knew, like, I really need to grow up. I really need to get my stuff together for my son, because I'm not going to have him live the life that I've lived with being taken away and not be like really knowing your biological parents. And I'm not going to do that to him. He doesn't deserve that. So that's when I really shaped up. I just pretty much then decided that I was going to be the best mom I could possibly be, and I put my big girl panties on, as my mom would say. And I started having potential foster parent interviews, where obviously it's kind of self-explanatory. A potential foster parent comes to the shelter, they meet with you, kind of like it's like an interview, and you pretty much just talk to them and they talk to you, and then they kind of tell your social worker whether or not they want to take you in. And I didn't get really any interviews because my social worker would call up foster homes and say, hey, I have this teen mom, and pretty much they would cut her off right there. Like, teen mom, no, that's not happening. Like, No, because they thought I was just like this crazy teenager, like out of control. And mind you, I was never disrespectful to anyone's. I've never been disrespectful to anyone, like to their face, like where I'm like cussing at them or going crazy, or like Teen Mom TV shows. I've always been very respectful, and I've always been like very quiet and just, you know, kept to myself and kept my thoughts to myself. I've never really said how I really felt or anything. I just kind of always held it in, and I just kept my head down. And so when those homes would turn me down, it really hurt, because I wanted to tell them, like, I promise you, like, I'm a good kid. Like, just give me a chance. Especially because I knew, like, I had to get my act together. And it wasn't until my social worker finally called me one day and she said, I have a potential foster home for you. However, it's all the way in Westlake. And mind you, I grew up in Oxnard my entire life. The farthest I knew of was like Thousand Oaks because of basketball tournaments. And I had gone to Arizona for a few summer camps. But I mean, nothing more. So I was like, Westlake? Like, where is that? Like, how far is that? And I, at the time, was still holding on to mine and my kid's dad relationship. So I was like, how is that going to work? Like, I still want to go to my homeschool. And I wasn't really fond of the idea at first because of the distance. And then she goes on to tell me that they already have 7 kids. 7. The majority of my life, I grew up an only child. I like to say, I was told that they had 7 other kids, and I was like, my time is done. Like, I'm about to be part of the Brady Bunch. Like, I ain't gonna get no more time to myself. Like, it's done. And they're actually debating whether or not they should take you in because they're having problems with one of their kids right now. And they just don't know if they can handle a teen mom. And I'm like, Jan, like, are you crazy? Really? Sure enough, and I'm going to say my mama's name because I know she don't care. Immediately she's like, hi, I'm Wendy. And I'm like, and I'm just like, hi. And like I said, I was very quiet, like very, very quiet, very reserved. So I was kind of just like, whoa, it's a lot. And pretty much we just started talking, and I fell in love with her. I became obsessed with her. I was like, I need to come live with you. I feel like because of all these experiences of my life and being placed in 9 different homes before I was even 18, I just felt like my mom and my dad really worked hard to make me the woman I am today, and I'm really thankful for that. Rude.
That guy is just really rude. He always rides around on his motorcycle super loud, and it's really unnecessary. You're only supposed to be going 25 miles per hour.
Like, this is just an intro video. I really want to do a question and answer.
Can you stop?
I really want to do a question and answer, and I really want to answer, like, literally shoot me with any questions that you have, and I will answer them, like, I promise you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm really sorry if this was really bad. This is my first video, but I really hope that you guys learned a bit about me and are hopefully interested enough to subscribe. And yeah, thank you so much.
She got a kid, she ain't got a lot of free time. I tell her you need a lot more me time. Yeah, she got what everybody like. She's everybody's type, yeah, yeah. I know that your man took flight, yeah, yeah.